Hi and welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name's Ruben and this is my review for one of my most anticipated series of the year, actually, a prequel to The Witcher Blood Origin. This will be non-spoilers, so don't worry, you can just hear about whether it's actually worth your time. But before I get into that, let's have a look at the advent calendar characters that I do now, one every day. I missed one, so I'm doing an extra one until December the 25th. So this time around, we've got a Luke Skywalker, but he's got a cane instead of a lightsaber, and he's wearing Christmas colors. And for the second one... okay, this is great. Vader in proper Christmas colors. Brilliant. The Witcher Blood Origin is a prequel to the Netflix series The Witcher, set in an elven world 1200 years before the show, centering on the origins of the very first Witcher. I think you're going to have to adjust your expectations as to what you think this series in. For one, it's actually very short. They're just 4 episodes, about an hour long. You will get through them very quickly. If you love your fantasy sort of thing like The Witcher, or the amount of stuff we've been getting like the Lord of the Rings series we've had recently, if you like that sort of thing, I think you're going to love this regardless of whether you know anything about The Witcher at all. In fact, because it's an origin story, you can go into this with no knowledge and just enjoy it for the story of the origins of the first Witcher. Now, if you're a big fan of The Witcher and you've read the books and you played the games, then I think you'll actually really appreciate how much time and effort they put into the making of the first Witcher. And when you eventually do get to it, I'm so glad they did kind of stick to the guns as to how painful it would be. If you've seen the series or you've read the books, or you again kind of know a bit about the lore, you know how harsh that is and how sometimes they don't survive. So seeing how the first one came to be as part of this story, they do it justice. When it comes to doing things justice, costumes are fantastic. They look the part. When it comes to cinematography, with that sort of fantasy element, you're worried maybe it's going to look too CGI. It doesn't. For the most part, I would say all of the CGI looks really great in this, except for a couple of city parts. I noticed that for me, that took me out of it, but I was like, yeah, that's not real. But mostly it all looks really good. What works, I think, is when they take so much time spending it on character, which is kind of a negativity as well for me on this series, because there's only 4 episodes. It feels like just as we're getting to know our characters, it's over, it's done. And it also ends kind of abruptly. How they connect the story to our Witcher world is very clever, and I really appreciated that. And one of the things that we like in, well, I think most people like in the Witcher original series is the song Toss a Coin to a Witcher. We've seen so many songs, people recreating that song and doing their own version of it, and it's been wonderful to see. I think there's a couple of songs there in this series that people are going to sing. One in particular that is darker and heavier, but is very catchy. I wouldn't be surprised if we have another number of people kind of recreating and doing it themselves. The score is magnificent, with the actual soundtrack, with the songs, what I mean, and all of that kind of plays a part at the adventure. Now, according to who is in the cast, I think a lot of people will know that Michelle Yeoh is in it, as she plays Xian, and she's fantastic. When she gets time to do action on screen, we all know her talent in that, but her character as well is very interesting, very kind of troubled past, and her trusting anybody it's an interesting kind of dynamic, as she has to form this band of heroes that have to kind of stop what's happening. And basically, it's without doing spoilers, there's a big bad doing something big baddish.
My beast has done well.
It's really easy to spoil, and a group of heroes have to set out to do that task.
I swore I'd kill you if we ever crossed paths again.
So you go from A to B, beat the bad guys along the way. The group that is forming along the way need to learn a bit about each other, and form these friendships and trust each other.
How can we trust each other?
That is kind of classic fantasy D&D game style. I think it ticks all those boxes that you'd expect. The person that stole the series for me, without a doubt, is Francesca Mills, who plays Melodov.
Come on, big lad. We're only just getting started.
Meldoff? Let me just get her name right. Meldoff. And she is quirky, funny, dark. She has an amazing backstory that I immediately felt for. Not the underdog. She is a formidable force, and her character is a dwarf, and you believe her skills. I think that comes down to the choreographing with her character and everybody's character, especially the ones in the group. You believe all the fighting. It feels like they've done their homework and trained so well. So when you do see the fighting sequences, it's believable. There's a bit of a structure, sort of a Roman army, you know, like on me, form a line, that kind of stuff in the fighting sequences that I wasn't expecting to be in there, because we've not really seen that in The Witcher just yet, because The Witcher's more like lonesome, you know, Geralt's mostly on himself, not normally in this band of heroes. So I liked it. It's going to feel different to The Witcher because it is an origin. I do feel like once you get to the end, you're going to feel emotionally tortured with certain characters, but you're going to see other things coming, and you're also going to have a couple of questions. Which leads me to the question is, will we get any more of this? Because I think it's sold as a one-time thing for a thing that happens with the convergence. It's all part of that big story as to set up the world of The Witcher. And so now we have these 4 episodes of characters we may never get to see again, which is such a pity because you'll end up really liking them. Those that survive, that is. Because as always, if you're going to do any good storytelling, you're going to have to kill your darlings. And that is generally what happens in these Witcher stories anyway. I loved it. I thought it was really entertaining, really fun. I just wanted more because when it ended, it just felt really abrupt. And I was like, really? Is that it? In fact, when I first got the screeners, I went back to Netflix and said, I don't think I've received all of the screeners. And I went, nah, that's it. So it's a short, sort of long-ish movie. It could have been a long movie, but they decided to do it in 4 hours, which is enough. But I just wanted more. But leaving you wanting more is a really good thing. So I'm going to give this 4 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
And you got one. Congratulations.
I think everybody's acting, costume design, editing, pacing, it's all really fun. The graphics with the creature features looked amazing. The design of that, the birth of The Witcher, how that came about is well done. And I think the scripting and dialogue is believable. There was one scene, there was a sex scene that didn't need to be around. Because we literally just had a sex scene with this particular couple, and then we had it again, and it just felt like out of place, like that wouldn't happen in that moment. That was the only drawback I really had, apart from it being too quick. So let me know your thoughts and feelings about this series. Are you excited? When you do watch it, let me know who is your favorite character. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long on Tuesday.